Impact Interview is sponsored by the Pocono Mountains, where small-town charm meets big adventures. Book your trip today by visiting PoconoMountains.com.
Well, welcome back to Nittany Game Week. Our Impact Interview this week is once again one of the Penn State all-time greats. And anyone that hears the name Chafie Fields immediately goes to a game-winning catch for a road top 10 win at Miami. But his career after college has been even more amazing. Currently the executive vice president for team sports at the global powerhouse at Team Wasserman. He works with and represents household names in the NFL and the NBA and other international sports. Chafie, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Todd.
All right. So look, we need to talk first and foremost about the show Ballers on HBO, about a sports agent in Florida, which was based in part on your life. So I want to talk to you about the authenticity of the show. And then, of course, The Rock. Really? They couldn't find anybody better looking or in better shape to play your part?
You know what, man? I don't know about the casting. but the show ended up being pretty good, man. The show ended up being pretty good. But yeah, now that's a true story. My former partner, a guy that I started in this business with, was close friends with the gentleman who developed the story and, produced Ballers. And we met Levinson maybe 3 years before the show came out. And we sitting there talking, and he just like, man, you got a hell of a story, man. This should be a movie. And I'm like, well, you're the producer, write the movie. And we laughed about it. Probably a year and a half later, he came back. He said, I didn't do a movie, but I think it'd be a great series. What do you think? And he started running it down. And lo and behold, Ballers was created. And he asked me to come on the first season, and I was a little hesitant because I wanted to see if it was going to turn out good or not.
Sure.
And so the second season came around. I thought it was good enough for me to be a part of. And when I was supposed to make my official cameo, my daughter was born, and so I missed it. And so we had to wait because he had to write the character out and then, write him back in. So I had to wait to the following season. I can't remember. I think we had a storm or something, and it didn't happen. And so I never made my cameo, man. But the show was loosely based on yours truly, but it wasn't true to form. They made it for Hollywood, so they made it a lot more entertaining than what my real life is.
Hey, Chaf, you're on the professional side in the whole agent game, but as you and people in the industry look at what's happening in college with NIL and collective bargaining and revenue sharing are certainly coming down the road. As you guys talk amongst yourself, how do you guys see this playing out in the college level?
Me personally, I don't think it ends well. Just because college sports is supposed to be amateur sports. And now it's literally becoming professional sports. And let's just use college football for an example. College football and the transfer portal has become free agency. Kids can just jump ship at any point. This school is offering me more money. I'm leaving. I'm going to take the money. It's no longer about an education. It's no longer about a culture. It's no longer about the program, the university. And I don't think it's necessarily a good thing for the universities or for the amateurism of college football, basketball, or any other sports. I think that there has to be a better way to compensate the young men and women than just having, the wild, wild west as it is now. Because there's no mandates, it's not organized. Everybody can just do whatever they want to do, and it's getting bad. I mean, to the point that the high school athletes are deciding what college to go to based on how much any NIL money is there for them. You know, so they're not going with the intent of graduating. They're not going with the intent of getting any kind of education. They're going with the intentions of simply, they're giving me more money, so that's the best situation for me. And I don't think it's a good thing.
Tough. You came from Philly as a running back, but established yourself as a game-breaking receiver and a student athlete with bigger plans for life. You also had a great relationship with Joe. How did your time at Penn State get you ready for life after football?
My time at Penn State got me ready for life, generally speaking. And man, you guys really describe this. I don't know if we ever spoke about this, man. But you know, I went to Joe my freshman year, no, my sophomore year, and I said, Coach, I can't sit on this bench another game, man. I say, move me to DB. Move me to DB and let me go in the DB room.
You really wanted to come in that room?
Because I could do it. And for me, it was I just wanted to play. I just wanted to play. And I think for me personally, I had a very, very, very unique relationship with this man that stands over my shoulder to this day. And it was because I sensed and I knew that he genuinely cared about me, the person, the young man, the human being. And it wasn't just about football. We had many conversations, many back and forths, many disagreements, but he always was fair and he always was honest. And I just respected and appreciated that about him because I knew I can go and talk to him about anything. And so for me, because of that, I grew a certain level of trust for him and in him. And for me, coming from where I came from, that was difficult for me. I didn't trust many, if any. And so for me to put my trust in this man, it was a big deal. And I did it because of what he represented and what he instilled and what his intentions were to instill, not just in me, but every other guy in that locker room. From the simple to the smallest thing that he put in place, like having a minimum amount of guys in any one dorm room because he wanted us to be involved in the general population of the students community at school. He didn't just want a football dorm or a sports dorm. He wanted you to interact and commingle with the regular students. And that was a big deal. You didn't think about it when he was doing it, but now you understand what an impact that played. From the small things like not being able to sit at training table with the same group every day. You know, just a little thing that he was going to make you get to know your teammates, get to know the other people on campus, because it was more than just about football. And he was trying to prepare us for life after football. You know, and I'll tell you something else that was something small, but it was big. Every year when I was there, we had our spring game on the same weekend as the NFL draft to keep our focus away from that, you know? And so for me, it was a lot of little things that he put in place that made you focus on just life, generally speaking, outside of football. He wanted to make sure that you understood that there was a lot more to life than just football. And he had his ways of making sure that he did it without even having to tell you that he was doing it.
Chafie, I can see the wheels spinning in Tom's head just thinking about you as a DB. He's like, oh, rats, I missed out on.
Whoa. I was coaching linebackers back then. So it would have been nice to have that behind us.
He missed out. Well, look, among your clients over the years, Juju Smith-Schuster, Najee Harris, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and even James Harden, what are some of the challenges that you and your clients face in kind of a rapidly changing world of sports business? And then some of the common characteristics that make these athletes succeed, the ones that do succeed in the business side of it and sports?
Yeah, you know, this is a conversation I was having with a young agent yesterday. And I say young agent, it's crazy, man. I'm 20 years into this industry now. And this industry has changed probably 4 or 5 times since I started. And it's continuing to evolve, and it's a continuous evolution. And in order to be successful at anything, you have to keep up with the times, and what's relevant now, what's relevant today. And it's not easy because the more mature you get, the more out of touch you become with this generation, right? So you got to figure out new ways to reinvent yourself. You have to figure out new ways to reinvent the business in the way that you run it. And so for me, these young guys, I guess you could say, keep me young. They keep me hip. They keep me up to speed on current affairs and currently what's in and what's not, how and why. But these young men, the challenges that I faced when I was coming up, the challenges that they face are just a lot different. There was no social media, when I was growing up and coming through, and so you didn't have to worry about cell phone videos at every turn. You know, everybody is recording everything that you do, everything that you say. So the challenges are a lot more now than they were back then because the exposure is just literally at your fingertips. Everybody has a phone, everybody has a camera phone, they're taking pictures, they're taking videos, literally of everything that you say and everything that you do. So you have to be on all the time, 24/7, you have to be on, because one mistake with a tweet, one mistake with a post on TikTok or Instagram could hurt your career. And so the challenges that these young men face are 24/7. And so it's a lot more difficult and it's a lot more complicated if you're not just, walking a straight line. So for me, trying to make these young men understand this sometimes is not the easiest thing in the world because they grow up with it. And they think it's just okay. I think everything is okay. It's not going to be any judgment. It's not going to be any consequences until there is. And now you playing from the back. And so for me, trying to make these guys understand the times that we live in and the pitfalls that are ahead of them before they get to them is a big challenge for me and for them as well.
As you look at the global sports business, there's obviously a lot of growth. You've seen some of the contracts that you're seeing, but particularly on the women's side of sports now, you're seeing astronomical growth. Where do you see this headed in terms of the college level, but also in the professional level?
Man, for me personally, I'm excited about the growth and exposure of women's sports. And I'm a big advocate of women's sports. I'm a real life girl dad. My daughter is the most special human being on the planet Earth to me. And so to see women's sports go in the direction that it's going is great. And I often tell people being around women's sports and basketball and volleyball and track in particular, when you look at women's basketball, if you ever take the time to just sit down and watch a professional women's game or even a women's game at the NCAA level, you'll see, in my personal opinion, that their fundamentals are much greater than that of the men. Now, the reason why, in my opinion, I don't think it's gotten its necessary fanfare is because you don't have women necessarily jumping out of the gym and jumping over people. But if you watch the game and the way they play the game, is extremely competitive. It's extremely, the fundamentals are the way they pass the ball, the way they shoot the ball, the way they cut, the way they defend, everything about the way they do what they do, because they're not as athletic as the men, is just that much greater, in my opinion. And so I don't think it gets enough attention. And I don't think it's been enough fanfare made about how special these young women are. And so in the past, a lot of people don't know this, but for the females, most of them in most sports, they had to go international to make a decent living and to get the exposure that they desired. And so now to see the sports coming back home, coming back here in the States, and there being a significant amount of fanfare made about it, is great for me.
Chafie, you're known as an agent that goes beyond the business side and mentors young athletes. How rewarding is it to see your athletes have success and excellence in their personal and professional lives?
So for me, at this point, man, I've been blessed to sit in the position that I sit in, to be in a role that I'm in. Because I don't necessarily just see myself as an agent per se. I think that for me, it's more about me having an impact and affecting these young men's lives outside of sports. Because I bear witness that you can't play any game forever. Everyone's sports career has an expiration date. And one of the biggest things with that is transitioning from sports into whatever's next. A lot of these guys have a really, really hard time doing so because you spend the majority of your youth years, putting everything into trying to make it to this level. Then you get to that level and you have success or you don't have success. Either way, there's an expiration date. And so when it's over and you realize that it's over, you don't have the same passion for anything else because you never really thought about it. In your mind, as a young man, you think you're indestructible. You think you can play the game forever. You think you can play as long as you want to play, and that's just not the case. And so for me, it's very important to start getting these young men to start thinking about what things they have interest in outside of sports. What do they have professional interest in doing? Do they want to get into coaching? Do they want to get into finance? Do they want to get into real estate? Whatever the case may be, it's extremely important that they start thinking about that now, not when they have to. Because if you wait till you're done to start thinking about what's next, that's when you hear all the horror stories. That's when you hear about these guys, losing everything that they worked all their life to attain, losing their money, losing their homes, and things of that nature, because not everybody in this industry and in this space is like me, in the sense that they don't necessarily care about these guys. It's a means to an end, it's a transaction, it's a business deal. And so when they're done, so is the relationship with the people that they hire in these fiduciary responsibility positions. And so for me, it's more about helping these young men become the best young men, the best son, the best brother, the best father, the best neighbor that they can possibly be. And it's extremely satisfying to me when you see the success stories that come from that. And it's extremely that much more satisfying for me when these young men will come back and say, man, I appreciate everything you did. I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for you. Or, you're the closest thing to a father that I've ever had. And I appreciate it, man. And those things mean the world to me. It's not about football. It's not about basketball. It's not about the accolades that they receive in the sport that they play. It's more about what they do when they're done playing the sport, man, in a way that they can become stand-up men in their communities. That is more gratifying to me than anything.
Well, that's awesome insight, Chafie. We really appreciate it. And look, you didn't get your cameo in Ballers, but you took the lead here on an episode of Nittany Game Week. The Rock doesn't have that on his resume.
Nah. See, I'm going to one-up the Rock on that one.
There you go. There you go. Guys, anything else for Chafie? Any other questions?
Always great to talk to you, man.
Hey, thanks for the great memories, okay? Appreciate it.